Hello, and welcome to the first episode ever of the All Killer No Filler podcast. I'm your host, Teo the Terminurtle, and you may be asking yourself right now, what is a Terminurtle? And to that I say, it's a Terminator turtle, you freaking idiot. Okay, so I really wanted to do this podcast because I love talking about movies and pop culture and TV shows and comic books and just the whole entertainment space in general. And I also love listening to movie-related podcasts like, John Campea or The Weekly Planet. But the thing with those podcasts is they're like 2.5 hours long, right? And that's great for, if you're going on a long car ride, or sometimes I play them just to sleep, honestly. But then what they do is they cut these podcasts up in these like 10, 20-minute clips, and they upload those to their YouTube channels to, I guess, make the content more digestible, or if you just want to hear about like a particular topic. And in my mind, I thought, why not just make the podcast itself, 10, 20 minutes long? That way you can get the information to the people, but it's not, this huge commitment, or you're not skipping around kind of like just listening to what you want to hear. And so I thought about doing this podcast, which is All Killer No Filler. It's right there in the name. And it's just me giving you guys what's new in the world of movies, TV, and pop culture. And just to kind of let you guys know, in the future, I would love to have some guests on to kind of talk about the news with me. Or I also have some friends in the filmmaking industry that I know would love to kind of come up here and talk about projects that they've done, things that they're currently working on. So it's just going to be a good time, and I hope you guys will stick around for the journey. So let's get started with my review of episode 1 of SheHulk. To begin, right off the bat, it was a great start. I have kind of joked with my wife and with my friends that when it comes to the MCU TV shows, we've had a few now, WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier. But with these TV shows, there's kind of a common trend that the first couple of episodes are actually like really slow, right? Or they're just kind of like an exposition dump, or just kind of getting you to what you want to see. And what I really liked about SheHulk is there's this sort of cold open in the beginning, and then it just jumps immediately right in to Jennifer Walters getting her powers, being trained by Bruce, and just sort of this journey of her coming to terms with the fact that she is a Hulk now. What does that mean? What are her responsibilities to the planet when you have these powers, and driving home that, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, when the trailer for She-Hulk dropped, one of the major things that people were talking about was the CGI effects, and if it was a little bit too wonky. And then all this news came out about Marvel as a company not, properly paying and not properly treating their CGI team very well. And that completely changed the narrative of this whole situation from, boy, Marvel CGI has been really lackluster lately, to, oh, well, now we get why, With that being said, I feel like when it came to Bruce, his CGI always looked great. He was always like a Thanos level CGI character where you could like see the pores on his skin. And I don't know if that's because they've worked on Bruce so much in the past. I don't know if they have sort of a completed Bruce that they just plug in with, all of the traction stuff and it kind of animates itself at this point. But Bruce always looked great. With Jennifer Walters, with She-Hulk herself, there were a couple of times that the CGI was very noticeable. There's a scene where Bruce and Jennifer get in a fight, and at one point it literally looks like She-Hulk is copy and pasted. It looked rough. And then, this is really nitpicky, but there's one scene where Bruce is turning pages in a binder, and the binder itself, like the pages turning, looks like a PlayStation 2 animatic. But to me, that's really nitpicky stuff. I had a blast with this first pilot episode. I thought it was a great start to her character, and I'm very intrigued. I'm very curious to see where they're going to take this. There wasn't really a real hint yet as to like what the plot of the show is. They really took this pilot to just kind of define the character, and I think that was a really great choice. It did feel like a self-contained short film in literally all the best ways. I do want to talk a bit about the Hulk character, because in the weeks that were leading up to this, I did see a lot of memes that were comparing the movie The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, and just how, monstrous the Hulk was, how much of a beast he was, kind of compared to the promotional clips that were coming out with this TV show of Bruce, kind of being clumsy and kind of fumbling around, and Jennifer like upstaging the Hulk like in every way possible. I do think that there is something to be said for kind of the progression of this character, right? How they've taken his story arc, being this sort of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, this beast that can't control himself, to then fusing them together into the smart Hulk. And I think it's good for him, like if he was like a real person. But this being entertainment and the Hulk having the legacy that he does, I will admit that it does leave something to be desired, that he's not this beast anymore, this absolute like uncaged monster, right? Like within the comics, the Hulk can like move planets, right? He can like tug planets. So I'm just very kind of curious, but I don't think I'm upset with it, because I love the MCU. I love these films. I love the direction that it's going, but I do get people's frustration. Who knows, right? This TV show could kind of totally take it in a darker direction, and we could kind of see the revival of that monster Hulk, especially since we know from the trailers that the Abomination will have some part to play in this TV show. So I'm just very curious, and now that I've seen the pilot, I'm very optimistic of what the future of She-Hulk is going to be, and I can't wait to see how her role fits into the rest of the Marvel universe. And then I just have here in my notes that the Hulk says brah at one point. So there's that. Speaking of uncontrollable monsters, let's talk about the Ezra Miller situation. If you're like, what's the Ezra Miller situation? What's going on? There's a lot. I would definitely look into this kind of on your own, but to kind of catch you up to speed. So the actor Ezra Miller, you may remember them from Perks of Being a Wallflower. Recently, they just played as the Flash in Zack Snyder's Justice League, as well as the original cut of Justice League. But yeah, they are playing the Flash in the DC universe. They are also, they have the role of Cletus in the Fantastic Beast film. Honestly, who cares about those? So they have this new Flash film coming out that was directed by Andy Muschietti. 2 years ago, like a 5-second clip came out of him choking a woman to the ground. And that's literally all you got. It was a 5-second clip, very much taken out of context. And people were like, is this a joke? Was that his friend? Is this legitimate? And Warner Brothers didn't say anything. Cut to end of last year or beginning of this year, I can't really remember, but we find out that Ezra Miller has been arrested in Hawaii for throwing a chair at a woman in a bar. And then he's arrested a week later. And then he breaks into a couple's home and threatens to kill the husband and the wife. And we find out that this couple has been allowing him to stay at their house, and he broke into their bedroom. So he's just going on this rampage in Hawaii. A couple months go by, it's a little bit quiet. Warner Brothers still doesn't say anything. And then we find out that he has essentially kidnapped this 18-year-old kid that he has had an ongoing relationship with since this child was 12. And the parents are placing a restraining order. And all the meanwhile that this is going on, Warner Brothers is releasing a Flash trailer. They're promoting, Shazam 2, which the Flash comes in. They're talking about the future of the DC universe. And the number one question on everyone's mind is like, so what's the deal with the Flash? Like, are they going to recast him? Are they going to reshoot him? Is the film even going to come out? Oh, I forgot to mention, there was a warrant out for his arrest, and nobody could find him. And they couldn't find this kid either. And so a week ago, Warner Brothers releases this information that Ezra Miller is staying with their mom on a ranch in Vermont. And they have a couple of different options where Miller can release a statement and, seek help and then kind of pretend like none of this ever happened. And he's just gonna, go on the press tour of The Flash and act like these reporters aren't gonna be like, so Ezra, what have you been up to? So I have Miller's statement here, and this totally sounds like a PR statement. I don't think that Miller themselves wrote this, but it says, Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. That is the words of Ezra Miller's PR team. Okay, I'll be honest. I feel like I'm coming off as extremely harsh with this story, and I don't mean to. We live in this time of cancel culture, and I'm not the biggest proponent of cancel culture. But if Louis C.K., you know what I mean, can't even show his face in public anymore, what are we going to do about Ezra Miller, who is going to come in one of the biggest movies of the year, who is literally going to be plastered on every billboard, bus charter, newspaper stand in the world, and they've literally kidnapped a child, assaulted multiple people, threatened murder against multiple people in the past 8 months. It doesn't really sound like things are split evenly amongst the cancel culture community. And it's kind of like, hey guys, like, this is the time to do your job. But at the same time, The Flash has had screenings and people have said this movie is phenomenal. And I'll be honest, when I saw the trailers, I'm very excited for what this film entails. And I can also look past that, hey, a film is not one person. It is literally hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so, if there's one problematic person, the tons of other people and their hard work should not just be dismissed. So in terms of The Flash as a film itself, I am very excited. I cannot wait to see this film. As far as Ezra Miller, I am crossing my fingers that after that opening weekend, or once the box office reports have come out, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping and praying that Warner Brothers says, hey, we're glad that you like this film. We are recasting Ezra Miller immediately. And good riddance to them. Hope they get the help that they need. But I'm not exactly, wanting, just kind of give them a slap on the wrists and call it a day. But that's just me. I might cut this story. Yeah, that I feel like I sounded really harsh in that, and I didn't even know that I felt that harsh. But let's move on to some monsters that I do love, and that is we got some news on the sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong. It's not going to be called Godzilla vs. Kong 2, but it's just the next film in the monster universe, and they're currently filming in Australia. There's a couple of clips out there of just, people on a beach. They look out to the ocean and they scream, which is pretty typical stuff, for a film like this. But I think from all reports, we've kind of heard that it's a more Kong-centric story. And look, when I was 6 years old, Peter Jackson's King Kong came out. And I remember seeing that film in theaters, and it changed my life. That's the film that made me want to go into a career in the film industry. So I am a huge King Kong fan, by all means. And so when I heard that this film is going to be more Kong-centric, I could not be more pumped. But yeah, so here's what we have. The plot reads, the fifth film in the MonsterVerse franchise will see Kong defend the Earth from unusual and dangerous creatures that threaten his new home. Dude, sign me up. You're telling me that this film is Kong battling monsters, Kong battling aliens, Kong just kicking ass all the way across the planet, like the Rampage World Tour video game, but unlike the Rampage movie? Sign me up. I am 100% in, and yeah, sure, we can throw in this Godzilla cameo, but make no mistakes, folks, I am here for King Kong, and if this is a Kong-centric film, I am 100% down. That was kind of all the news I wanted to talk about this week. I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit light on news, and then as we continue on, I'll get into kind of more topics. But before we go, I do want to recommend 2 films. First, to start out with a more family-friendly option. Last night, my wife and I watched a movie called Secret Headquarters on Paramount Plus with her 2 brothers. And this film stars Owen Wilson, Ka-chow, and upcoming new actor Walker Scobell. He was the kid that was in the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds. And he is going to be the next Percy Jackson in the Disney Plus TV show. So the main premise of this film is that Owen Wilson is a superhero And in his, taking time to save the world, to kind of be the defender of Earth, he has dropped the ball on his duties as a dad. This kid has no idea that his dad does this, and his dad invites him over for a weekend and then says, hey, a thing on my job came up, I have to take off. And so the kid throws a party with a couple of his friends at the house, and they end up stumbling across his dad's secret headquarters, which is the name of the film. And it's this kid discovering that his dad is a superhero. This was a really good, nice family film. I feel like this film is what Spy Kids would be today, which is ironic because I know that they're actually currently working on a Spy Kids remake, and I hope that Robert Rodriguez watches this film and takes some notes, because I know that there was that movie called We Could Be Heroes that was in the Shark Boy and Lava Girl universe, and that was kind of more, corny, cheesy, and just kind of like, plot-wise, it just kind of didn't live up to what a lot of people felt that it could have been. And I feel like where that film didn't succeed, this film definitely did. I also wanted to shout out Keith L. Williams. He was in the movie Good Boys. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was produced by Seth Rogen, and it was basically like Superbad with 10-year-olds. And Keith L. Williams was like the standout character in that film to me. And so to watch him pop up in this, I had no idea that he would be in this. And he came on. I was like, oh, hey, cool. And yeah, so I was just really glad to see that he's still, continuing his career. And I hope to see him in more stuff. But right now you might be saying, Teo, that's great. But what if I don't want a family film? Or what if I don't want this lighthearted superhero film? Have I got something for you guys? So this film to me is one of the most underrated films in this actor's career. The actor I'm talking about is Daniel Radcliffe. I would argue that he's done enough phenomenal film roles in his time since the Potter films that when I see him, I don't immediately think of him as Potter. But he did a film called Imperium. And this movie, I feel weird being like, oh, I love this film because of the content. But this is a great and well done movie. Why this wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I honestly have no idea. But in this film, Daniel Radcliffe plays an undercover police officer who is given the mission of infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a movie about Harry Potter joining the KKK. And it sounds weird, it sounds nuts, it sounds crazy, but if you want something that'll get your blood pumping, your heart racing, edge of your seat, Joker uncut gems levels of anxiety, this movie is gripping. I don't know why, but I've been wanting to buy the Blu-ray online for like 6 months. and it keeps on coming up, and it's just one of those things of it's like, I'll get it next time. And a couple of days ago, I was just like, no, like, I really want to watch this again. So I purchased the Blu-ray online. It should be coming in today. And I think I'm going to watch that tonight with my wife, who has reluctantly agreed. My wife definitely loves lighthearted comedies much more than gritty dramas. I think this is an excellent movie that dives into what makes people believe the things that they believe, especially when those beliefs are seen as radical, as crazy, and as just downright wrong. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to hype up the film too much. But if you're in the mood for something that's a little bit darker, it is called Imperium, and you can watch it on Hulu and Amazon Prime. But I think that's it for today, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of try this out. So please let me know what you think. But as always, I'm Teo the Terminurtle, and until next time, hasta la vista.